All right, I'm feeling it today, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna bear my testimony to you guys. Um, I've done this with a select few people, and I feel like it's really important that I try to do this more, uh, especially just because it will help me to get better at articulating it. Sometimes saying these things out loud is like traversing a wilderness. I spent a lot of time being the type of person who would hear these testimonies and react negatively to them. And maybe not even in a way that I thought was overtly negative, but just challenging people on their thought processes. And to give you some background as to why, I grew up in a church, and the denomination honestly doesn't matter. I think that any denomination that's teaching um, the gospel and the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, I think that there's some really important things there. And to be really clear, I have a deep appreciation for all faiths. Um, I read a book by Dennis Prager last year about the Ten Commandments, and it helped me to come closer to God, but it also helped me to understand that, we're all in this together trying to make sense of things. And sometimes the way that we do that um, isn't negative. It's just that, our understanding has to be fully rounded. For me, it was a lot of research. I went through history and theology and conspiracy even, and just try to get to a point to where I'm making breakfast, by the way. Trying to get to a point where it made sense to me. And I think the funny thing is the whole time it was right in front of my face, but it was the church that I was really struggling with. And it's not even the church, it was that I was in my own way. There's a lot of works-based foundations, and those things aren't bad to do. I think, though, that those things get in the way of the fact that there's already been a sacrifice made for us. So I encourage anybody to, try to do what's asked of them. I think that's exactly the way that you show our Father in heaven, and that we are understanding exactly what was traded for us. So, where do I even go with this? I don't know. I feel like I've had these dreams, and I've seen a lot of people share the same thing. And, with what I'm learning about these religious holidays, and excuse my lack of vocab in the way that I'm describing it, but things like Rosh Hashanah and the Feast of Trumpets, these experiences that are discussed in holy text, I feel like, from what I've learned, and again, this is something that I'm just articulating out loud for one of the first times. I think that as a believer, these holidays were given to us to be able to know when to be prepared. I understand that no man knows the time or hour. But when you learn about things like the Galilean wedding tradition and the Feast of Trumpets, you learn that in that tradition, this saying holds a lot more weight than the symbology that we would try to take away from it without having an idea of the historical background of it. There's people that have been online for years researching these things and calling out dates. And I think that from all of the work that they've done, they've finally gotten to a point to where they're able to tell us, hey, this looks like it's time. It looks like this is the return of Christ. And the amazing thing about that is that even if that's not true, it puts us in a position where keeping an eye on things like we're told to. So you're not supposed to stop your life. You're supposed to keep on keeping on. But we're supposed to be acting like this could happen at any point in time. The reason for that is because we're hopeless as people. And, we're just trying to show thanks for this incredible sacrifice that was given to us. So, I don't know, man. I've had a lot of amazing things happen to me. My wife is a blessing in my life. I challenged her on these subjects for years because I grew up in the church and I left and was interested in esoteric things and, stuff that really just wasn't in concordance with God and the concept of creation that I've learned to understand makes more sense than anything else. All right. Her and I struggled for a time because we were going to have a baby. We learned that she was pregnant, and this was right at the start of our relationship, and our lives changed completely. And unfortunately, and it's still heartbreaking, she had a miscarriage, and it rocked our world in a way that I honestly could have never prepared for. But it made me... Sorry, I'm grabbing some keys. It made me go from a person who celebrated life by indulging in things like drinking and smoking and not putting God first, not even putting myself first. I'm talking about wasting all of the talents that I have as a musician, a songwriter, or a writer, or just I'm blessed, and I'm not even I'm not even close to as good as I could be because I've got these human things that get in the way of that. It's interesting to me. And honestly, in a way, that's helped me to understand that I'm not as important as I thought. When I was a teenager, I was ready to be a rock star, and that certainly didn't pan out. So, and I'm happy it didn't, because what am I getting at with all this stuff, guys? For years, we tried to have another baby. We couldn't do it. I ended up getting on testosterone because, I was working out and watching all these things online that made me feel like I wasn't gaining enough muscle and all this crap. Right? So that made me not able to have kids. It at least made it a lot harder. And, man, that was heartbreaking for the two of us because, it felt like it was important for my quality of life, but I was giving up like this experience that is God-given, the ability to create. So, never mind music and all those things. Making with your hands, that's a different thing. That's less in comparison by a long shot, which is why I'm grateful. Last year in December, I had a calling I was having these dreams and feeling these things and just getting these urges to get off of the hormones. That, like, the way I perceived myself didn't matter as much as my destiny in this world. And I got off and, I prayed a lot with my girlfriend, and I shortly after asked her to marry me. I had this cloud of judgment that was just lifted from my eyes. Like I could finally see that I had life waiting for me. I was in the last semester of college, and everything just fell into place. She said yes, and look, I know that a lot of people hear this and say, that's not how things are supposed to happen, but we found out that she was pregnant. That was after years of trying to have a kid again. We couldn't do it. We finally made this decision, and we did it out of respect for the ability that we're given. And, I had to humble myself greatly to find myself in this position. And I think that God blessed us. And we got married. We'd already been planning on it. We'd already had a date and all these things. And so it just fell into place. And we're married now, and she's, halfway through the pregnancy, and I'm going to have a baby girl, and I'm so blessed. I'm blessed because what if we're in this time where, these high watch hours do matter, and this baby was a gift given to us so that we can be ready. Regardless, she'll be the greatest part of my life. Doesn't matter if things change on the 23rd or not. I'm so grateful because I don't, it's not just me anymore. And honestly, it never was. I had to put God first. I was never alone. I just was pretending like I was because I was fed a lie. And I ate it up. That was my choice. So, I don't even know. I'll probably make 100 videos. I need to. It's just hard. I record and then video uploading process doesn't happen, or something goes on during the recording process. I'm going to tell you, I think that there are powers trying to prevent these messages from getting out. It doesn't matter how perfect it is. So I just need to end it on this. I'm going to tell you, I believe that Jesus Christ sacrificed himself on the cross to atone for our sins, so that we could be with our Father in heaven eternally. And I believe that he is calling you today to have faith and to believe in him. And if you have questions or concerns, leave them in the comments. If you know somebody who believes in these things, ask them. Don't be afraid. If you know somebody who might be ready to hear these things, tell them. Don't be afraid. In fact, tell everybody. Scream it from the rooftops, homies. I'm working on it too. I've got fear in my heart, and we need to just not have that, because the things that are coming are a lot better. And it doesn't matter if it's this month or at the end of your life. The promises that are made to you, and they have validity based on a lot of evidence that, as an atheist at one point, I looked through and went, okay, that makes sense. That makes more sense than nothing. So, I'm rambling. I love you guys. And I'm going to eat this burrito now. Have a good day.